You know, you can only spend so much of your time playing horror games, feeling powerless and afraid of everything that inhabits the world around you. But sometimes you want to be feared. You want to be the monster. You want to kill shit with no remorse. But that's illegal. So, we have action games instead. And today, we're going to be diving into one of the most successful white men in all of gaming. Today we're taking a look at the original God of War.
Kratos is a name that echoes through the Gaming Hall of Fame.
Kratos!
From his beginning in 2005 all the way to now, he is loved the world over by many. Today, I decided to head back to the original game to see if it holds up. Not because I'm a massive fan of the series, but because I wanted to see what all the hype was about. And on the topic of how it holds up, I am quite conflicted. Let's dive straight into Athens though, and take a look at the original PS2 release of God of War. The game has a very strong opening of Kratos standing on the edge of a cliff before diving off. We are narrated to as this plays out, and we cut back 3 weeks to the Aegean Sea, and Kratos is taking on a group of monsters and threatens to send them back to the depths of Hades. We see Kratos take out the Blades of Chaos and get to work. Let's talk combat, during which we have a few moves at our disposal. We have a light and heavy attack, we can dodge roll, block, jump and grab enemies.
All of these combine to give us a flurry of attacks that we can use to tackle any given combat scenario.
The light and heavy attacks can be combined in multiple ways to activate different combos, with my favourite being the square-square-triangle combo, which has Kratos hitting the enemy twice and then slamming the blades into the ground where the enemy is standing. The first area acts as our tutorial as we are introduced to basic combat, as well as mini-bosses in the space of a few minutes. We fight off a Hydra and do some beam balancing before we continue on.
I hate the beam balancing in this game. It comes up quite a few times, but while most games would have you locked onto the beam and not able to fall, this game keeps full 3D control, and given the inaccuracy of analog sticks, means that I was falling off all the time. It's not too bad in this early segment, but it becomes far more egregious later on, especially in the lead up to Pandora'S Box. This bit here, with the blades on the beams, this can seriously fuck right off.
There are chests we can open throughout the game that include different kinds of orbs. Red orbs act as a level up system for our weapons and abilities, blue orbs recharge our magic, and green orbs refill our health bar. We can also get red orbs from killing enemies and bosses. Some other chests also include feathers that increase our maximum amount of magic, and gorgon eyes that increase our maximum health.
These are often slightly off the beaten path, but I recommend you find as many as you can, especially the gorgon eyes, as you're going to need the fucking health, since this game gets harder as it goes on and introduces a fair amount of bullshit, which I will get to, by the way.
The combat is the main focus of the game, but at times it can be the most annoying thing you will ever play. All of the combos work fine, and I love all of the different moves you can unlock as you upgrade the Blades of Chaos. Some of these moves are fucking incredible, but what isn't incredible is being smacked by the enemy you are attacking while you're in the middle of your combo. I'm not talking about another enemy sneaking up behind you and sticking his ding-dong up your ass while you're beating the shit out of his friend. I'm talking about the friend that you are beating the shit out of, deciding that, no, you're going to stop hitting me now, and I'm going to get a free hit in on you since you can't cancel out of an attack.
This shit drove me up the wall constantly. I would just be doing my thing, being a Spartan, and then all of a sudden, no combo for me, because big fucking Billy bastard decides to come up and give me a smack over the head like a fucking fuck.
The other shit that drove me up the wall was the enemies respawning. This led to multiple times where I'd be getting crowded by enemies that I had already killed because I was trying to take out the bigger bastards who would also respawn after killing them. This led to combat becoming a constant game of killing the smaller enemies twice while avoiding the bigger enemies, and then having to kill the bigger enemies twice. I think you understand my point of this being very frustrating. The last 60% of this game is so awfully thought out, and I didn't even want to finish it because of that.
I stopped at the Hades area because I got so frustrated and sick of the game's bullshit that I simply just had to give up.
The first stumbling point I feel is after you leave Athens and head to find Pandora'S Box. This level is just a limited area of an open desert where you need to find 3 sirens and kill them to open a door. Up until this point, we've been making our way through different linear but slightly exploratory areas, and then this area shows up that is just so open with absolutely nothing going on except 3 enemies.
It's just such a sudden change that stands in stark contrast to the opening that we go from this to this. Yep.
The game doesn't get any better once we jump aboard Kratos and head towards the temple where Pandora'S Box is hidden. The game from this point puts us through 3 different trials separated by smaller areas: the test of Atlas, Poseidon, and Hades. The game becomes a puzzle game separated by combat segments, which, given the game's introduction, introduced it as the exact opposite, I was not very happy about.
Plus, the trials are either just obtuse, like how the fuck was I meant to figure that out type shit, or they were just needlessly frustrating.
The worst offender, I think, being this trial with pushing a cage up a slope to sacrifice the guy inside to the gods, while infinitely respawning enemies constantly attack you. Bear in mind that Kratos is not that fast while pushing anything. Apparently being a servant to the god of war doesn't involve any serious upper body workouts.
The whole thing is just an uninteresting pile of shit area that really should have been heavily redesigned.
The test of Poseidon involves more puzzle solving in underwater segments, because this fast-paced, Greek myth-based, white-skinned with red tap face game apparently needed to become fucking Silent Hill for one mission, and soak this one part of the game with more atmosphere than any of my house parties. And the test of Hades isn't much better, with its shitty mazes, beams with spinning blades next to them that kill you in one hit, and this one combat arena that really puts the bullshit from the combat systems on full display.
I'm leaving out a ton of information because I honestly don't care enough to go through my footage to even remember it all.
We then go through the Cliffs of Madness, which is just more of the same bullshit we've seen up until this point, and then we get to the Architect's Tomb. The game now decides for a brief 10 minutes that it wants to be Crash Bandicoot and has a parkour segment with no sense of depth perception and Kratos plummeting to the ground faster than me when receiving a quick kick to the knackers. We continue on, and this fucking combat section here is incredibly dumb. We are constantly moving to the side because of the conveyor belt flooring, while being dive bombed by these flying fuckers and being shot by archers and nearly getting crushed to death by these big bastard rolling pins, and all of this so that we can find and harness the power of Pandora'S Box to kill the god of war, only to be impaled by a big piece of wood and losing the box that we've been working towards for the last couple hours. This is so incredibly demotivating. Not the kind of demotivating that makes me want to fight even harder to get it back, but the kind of demotivating that makes me wonder why the fuck I'm still playing this game, with all the combat bullshit, obtuse puzzles and mechanics coming and going like a whore's customers in a hotel.
But, for me, the straw that broke the camel's back, legs, neck, pissed on the corpse, set it on fire and threw it at the bin at the back of an Aldi, was the Path of Hades.
This area takes every shitty quality the game has had up until this point and turns it up to 1000 and fuck you. You're now bouncing on beams that are not surrounded by spinning blades, but spinning beams that are covered in the fucking things. All of the combat bullshit with some of the hardest enemies in the game, shitty platforming with enemies that can shoot you and stop your jump dead in midair, causing you to fall even though you did nothing wrong, and last but not least, the turning blade walls you have to climb up. This is the point in the game where I gave up completely.
Fuck this segment, and how anyone managed to get through this with the controller and or house still intact is completely beyond me.
These walls constantly spin and have spikes all over them, that if you hit them send you falling all the way back to the bottom and you need to start the long climb all over again. The problem comes from the size of the hitbox. If you even brush your pinky toe against the tip of one of these spikes, Kratos acts like he's just been hit in the face with a cum-covered mop, smacked with a jail cell door in the coccyx, while having a dick laid across his forehead and the words "orphaned or sexy" tattooed on his big toe, before plummeting to the ground and landing in such a way that a chiropractor would have to use a JCB to fix his spine. Fuck these walls.
And it's such a shame that the game nosedives after the first 40%, because the opening is a fantastic introduction to the character of Kratos and the world that he inhabits. Also, the cinematics that appear throughout are fantastic. I could honestly watch an entire movie with this CG quality and I would be perfectly enraptured by it. But the game doesn't keep this level of quality throughout its entire runtime. And that's all I have to say about God of War. I really wanted to like this game more, but I can't overlook these massive flaws for the small amount of good game that is actually there. However, if you enjoyed, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, consider checking out my social media and my Patreon. Links are all down below as per. Only if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.